Hey, stop that. I'm still in here. No!
Things go better with Coca-Cola. Things go better with Coke.
Now, Pulse News with Jim Ruddle in St. Petersburg.
St. Petersburg Mayor Herman Goldner unveiled a $100 million prospectus for higher education here in this city today, a program that could make St. Petersburg the first area in the southeastern United States offering college courses leading to advanced degrees in every phase of academic life. The program, as outlined to interested local parties at a City Hall briefing, calls for the development of a medical school and expansion of courses being offered by the Florida Institute of Continuing University Studies, as well as broadening the existing curricula at other colleges and universities located in the Bay Area. James Garland of Miami, the architect who prepared the preliminary plans, outlined the initial project to Channel 13's Charles Allen.
School, and the full cost of the facilities that we could even reasonably conceive as being required for the ficus operation, plus a lot of hostelry type facilities for students who were on the graduate level who would come into the town for 1, 2, or 3 day conferences, which might involve both ficus, the medical school, as well as the auditorium arena facilities.
Allen then asked Mayor Goldner if the program was within the financial ability of the community. Goldner responded by saying it's a must.
Well, Charles, there are private foundation funds available for a portion of this program. There are also federal funds available, and by utilizing private foundation funds as matching funds, virtually most of the costs can be financed without significant cost to the local community.
As to the medical school, Allen asked if the plan places St. Petersburg in direct competition with the medical school proposed for the University of South Florida.
Oh, no, not at all. First of all, much work will have to be done to determine whether or not South Florida itself might be interested in operating a medical college as a part of this complex. Well, we're not in competition. At this point, we're just planning, and of course, we hope to have the best results for everybody concerned. This is a regional plan. Part of a master educational plan, which will result in graduate facilities at the University of South Florida, we hope in the technical, engineering, and science fields, in Florida Presbyterian College in the humanities fields, and in New College at Sarasota in the business, economic, and government fields. Thus, by coordinating and eliminating possible duplication of graduate initial effort, we will very shortly be able to achieve an entire graduate program which will cover the full disciplines in the education and technical fields.
Goldner said even though he does not have any direct commitments to the program, it could be under construction by mid-1966. Reaction to a statement by the incoming Attorney General, we'll have that story in a moment.
Attention senior citizens, now you can retire in complete luxury for as little as $1 a day per couple in beautiful Guernsey City. Write at once for this brand new brochure, entirely free, showing 21 actual color photographs of Guernsey City. It gives complete information on America's finest retirement village. Here we show some of the 21 photographs this booklet contains and how you too can retire in luxury for just $1 a day. Simply write Guernsey City, Tampa, Florida. This private retirement resort has won all the top awards of excellence in the nation for 9 consecutive years and is centrally located at the Tampa end of Gandy Bridge. Learn from this free brochure how you too can live the life of Riley in this plush multi-million-dollar retirement paradise for as little as $1 a day for 2 people. No grass to cut, no hay to pitch. Just join the fun like you were rich. If you're 50 or over, write today for this truthful and highly informative brochure. It's free. Address Guernsey City, Tampa 11, Florida.
Governor-elect Hayden Burns said today in Jacksonville he hopes the state legislature will not have to deal with reapportionment until after its regular session. That statement in response to the Attorney General-elect's statement of yesterday that the legislature might not be legally constituted unless it reapportions before April. The comment by Earl Faircloth also brought response from state legislators meeting here in Tampa today. Representative Bill Bassford of Jacksonville, Senator Robert Williams of Jackson and Calhoun counties, Representative R.O. Mitchell of Leon County, and Pinellas Senator Bill Young gave WTVT News their opinions on this subject.
There's no question that the Attorney General's statement, Mr. Faircloth, is subject to the interpretation that our laws passed in this next session of the state legislature could be invalid. But we're at this point, the present confusion leads us to believe that it may also be valid, and I think that the courts have this under consideration.
I believe that the Florida legislature is legally constituted under the decision of the state Supreme Court in 1963. And I cannot and do not agree with those who would cast confusion and panic among the people of Florida at this point in our procedure.
I'm sure that Mr. Faircloth realizes that the Florida legislature is, in fact, a de facto legislature. And because of this, we will be able to enact legislation as we have in the past, which will be effective. We will be able to levy taxes which will be effective.
Mr. Faircloth's statement is concurrent with the position that I have expressed since March of 1963, that the next session will be unconstitutionally apportioned, and I go just a step farther. I believe that the 1963 session last year also was unconstitutionally apportioned.
The Legislative Council Committee on Insurance heard arguments pro and con today on proposed legislation dealing with insurance here in Florida. 21 pieces of legislation were considered at the public hearing. Of chief concern to homeowners was the proposal to bring title insurance companies under more strict control. The legislators claim the controls are necessary to ensure homeowners that the insuring company will be in business and be accessible for the life of the mortgage. The now dormant Florida Children's Commission got a boost today here in Tampa. State Senator George Holohan of Coral Gables led a discussion by a citizens advisory group concerned with the fate of the commission. The last session of the state legislature let the Children's Commission expire by failing to approve money for its operation. The appropriation was for $125,000 for the 2-year operating period before the Legislative Conference Committee pared it out of existence. The advisory committee, appointed by Governor Ferris Bryant, voted unanimously to recommend restoration of the money and volunteered to serve under Governor-elect Burns if he should wish them to continue.
The state cabinet accepted the recommendation of its building coordinator and approved St. Petersburg's Mirror Lake area as the site for a proposed state office building today. The downtown St. Petersburg area won the nod over 2 other 5-acre tracts offered by Pinellas County, one in Pinellas Park, the second in the Toy Town area. Both County Commission and the City of St. Petersburg offered to cooperate in donating free land to the state adjoining the proposed governmental complex in the Mirror Lake area. State Senator Bill Young, who first proposed the state building, commented on today's cabinet action.
This very early decision of the cabinet on the part of choosing a site for the state office building is very gratifying. I hope now that we can progress to the next step, the actual decision to get construction and construction planning underway so that we can actually have this state institution and state facility in our county of Pinellas before too many more months pass.
Commission Chairman John Bonzi was also pleased with the decision and said the next matter to resolve is the exact location of the building.
Actually, the county has very little property in the Mirror Lake area. The resolution passed by the county was that the county will cooperate with the city of St. Petersburg and offer property to the cabinet for the state building.
The matter of wrecker rates, we'll have that story in a moment.
This is a new menthol cigarette. Devon menthol. Significantly different. Smooth. It's the only menthol with a famous 3-piece Keith filter, unique in cigarette filtration. 2 modern outer filters, plus an inner chamber of charcoal granules, activated and specially fortified, make Devon's flavor smooth.
Smooth, smooth, smooth. That's the taste of Devon menthol.
The 3-piece Keith filter smooths the smoke through charcoal granules, a basic material science uses to purify water you drink, purify air you breathe.
Smooth, smooth, smooth. That's the taste of Devon menthol.
Smoothest menthol you've ever tasted.
The next portion of Pulse is brought to you by Greyhound.
Go Greyhound and leave the driving to us.
And leave the driving to us.
That squabble over wrecker service rates here in Tampa is due to come before the City Council this week with a proposal from the wrecking companies for an adjustment which would generally give them more money. Motor Club Vice President Ridgely Jones objects to the change. He also objects to the way the present wrecker rate ordinance has been carried out in practice.
Approximately 18 months ago, it was changed by an administrative order, and frankly, we're not sure this has been legally done, permitting an additional charge of $2.50 for the use of a sling and $5 for the use of a dolly. In a good many cases, these should be a part of the regular wrecker charge and not additional charges.
Why do you feel these extra charges are not justified, at least in that amount?
Well, in the first place, we don't think that the wrecker operators have enough of an investment to make a $2.50 or $5 additional charge. In addition to that, from our own experience, we have found that the wreckers operating under 3A contracts do not make additional charges, and our rate is less actually than that which is being charged under the present ordinance. We think that the public should be protected by keeping this ordinance exactly as it is now.
Tampa Traffic Inspector Neil Brown, who was police chief at the time referred to by Jones, told our newsroom this afternoon there was no intent to undercut the ordinance in allowing the extra charges for sling and dolly, but simply an attempt to set a fair price for what were considered extra services not covered in the ordinance itself. More maneuvering in that Tierra Verde controversy today. The film report right after this.
Ever realize how long and troublesome a short air trip can be? On the other hand, there's Greyhound. 3 steps, and you're on your way. No trouble getting to and from airports. Why pay so much extra to fly when Greyhound takes you downtown to downtown quickly, safely, relaxed, with money to spare?
Go Greyhound and leave the driving to us. Go Greyhound.
And leave the driving to us.
Greyhound does more than just take you to your destination. It takes you direct to the heart of town, and that's why when you go from Tampa or St. Petersburg to Miami, you get off just a few steps from the leading hotels, and the fare, just $7.10. So next trip, go to the heart of town. Go Greyhound.
In a complicated series of parliamentary maneuvers today, Pinellas County Commissioners blocked further discussion of a dredge and fill permit extension for Tierra Verde until January. The parliamentary jockeying began when Commissioner Lewis Homer attempted to convene the commission as the Water and Navigation Control Authority to consider placing another permit extension request on the January 14th agenda. Commissioner A.L. Anderson, longtime opponent of fills, objected on the grounds the commission had a heavy agenda and should avoid dredge and fill matters until the next regular meeting. Homer's motion was defeated, but he did succeed in getting both the Furman Betts fill permit and the Tierra Verde extension hearing placed on next month's agenda. Anderson was against any discussion of Tierra Verde, but lost a bid to rule out further evidence presented by attorney Baya Harrison. The board accepted the documents and will consider them when the matter is raised again next month.
The City Council here in Tampa recommended trees today, only to find out trees are already ordered for the Convention Center landscaping. Councilman Conrad Johnston said the Convention Center should be decorated with some citrus trees, as would be befitting for a Florida city. But this afternoon, Councilman Manuel Fernandez stopped to tell Park Superintendent Herman Massey about the suggestion. Massey told Fernandez he ordered citrus trees 2 months ago to be included in the landscaping. He even showed the spot chosen for one of the trees. The rest of the landscaping is moving toward completion. Massey's men have about an acre of land planted with shrubs, trees, and ornamentals worth nearly $60,000. And he is especially proud of a Perotus roti hanging over the fountain pool. Hugh Smith, Channel 13 News, Tampa.
Jim Ruddle, Channel 13 News, St. Petersburg.
This part of Pulse has been brought to you by Greyhound.
Go Greyhound and leave the driving to us.
Anheuser-Busch sets a record today, turning out his 10 millionth barrel of beer for 1964. Appropriate ceremonies marked the occasion at the Busch Gardens Hospitality House. Plant manager Paul von Gontard welcomed civic leaders to the plant to mark the first time a brewing company ever has produced such quantities of beer in a year. The Tampa plant produced about 1 million barrels during this 12 months. The 10 million barrels would float 20 ships the size of the Queen Mary. Commission Chairman Ellsworth Simmons received a souvenir gold bottle of Budweiser from the 10 millionth keg from Von Gontard, as did Channel 13 Salty Saul. You'll hear more about that in just a moment. 17-year-old Milledgeville, Georgia boy is in critical condition at a Sarasota hospital tonight. Injuries suffered when his car smashed into a bridge on US 41 just north of Port Charlotte. He's identified as William C. Lee. James Bonner Jr., also of Milledgeville, told authorities he and Lee both were driving south on 41. He looked in his rearview mirror and saw Lee's car strike the bridge. Next in view, Pulse Sports, containing details on that upcoming teachers' golf tourney, right after this message.
Someone you know would give the world to have a Kodak Instamatic camera outfit for Christmas. Give a Kodak Instamatic 100 outfit. Instant loading, built-in flash, costs less than $18, complete. And it says, open me first, for lasting pleasure all year long.
Go, 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 go Greyhound racing at the Tampa Greyhound track. 11 races nightly, matinees, Saturdays, and holidays. Daily double first and second races. Sorry, no minors.
Time now for WTVT Sports Director Salty Saul Fleischman.
Brought to you in part by your Standard Oil dealer, distributor of new Chevron, the livelier gasolines.
Hello there, sports fans. A brilliant all-around halfback from Tampa's Robinson High School. 195-pound Larry Smith has been named Florida's outstanding high school football player. The rating was by the Florida Sports Writers Association. And incidentally, I don't like to say this too loud, but I heard from a pretty good source that Larry may not go to Florida or FSU, and this would be bad news for Floridians. By telegraphic vote of its 8 members, the Class A Florida State League, of which Tampa and St. Petersburg and Lakeland and Sarasota are members, has decided to expand to a 10-club league next year, 1965. West Palm Beach is one for sure, and either Clearwater or Leesburg will be the other. Now, Earl Halstead, St. Petersburg publisher of sports books, will operate a Kansas City athletic farm at Clearwater if arrangements can be made with the city. And you remember last week I told you that the city council is sort of held up a bit because they want to make sure they don't have any harmful effects on the Clearwater Bombers. If Clearwater does not develop, McDonald said, and he's the president of the league, that Byron Herlong, veteran sports enthusiast and citrus grower, will operate the Kansas City club at Leesburg. Opening day is April 19th, so we've got a long way to go before we run into the Florida State League. Now here's a picture of Cypress Garden skier Bob Plouse. He's one of the 40 contestants entered in the 14th annual All-American Water Ski Tournament to be held at the Gardens next weekend. The senior men's events will be the first events this Saturday morning. But the University of Michigan is taking a new claim to #1 ranking in the nation in basketball. It's a terrific story because just last night it happened. And here is Paul Reynolds to lead you on with it, and you'll see it too.
Well, Solly saw last night on the 1110 Pulse Sports, I carried a story somewhat like this, that the unbeaten Wichita Wheat Shockers climbed to the top of the Associated Press poll for this week. But just moments later, the score was in showing that Michigan had beat them and is, of course, in a good position to come up with that #1 rating again by virtue of that win. In some of the action here, the All-American guard Cassie Russell opened up on the previously unbeaten Wheat Shockers in the battle for top spot at Detroit's Cobo Hall. It was billed as a matchup of Wichita's number 43, Dave Stallworth, and Russell. But Kelly Pete, a ball-hawking Wichita guard, took some of the scoring load off Stallworth as the teams battled right down to the final gun. Michigan led by 2 at the half. Stallworth helped, but Wichita put him right back in front and feeding off for some key baskets. But the second half belonged to Cassie Russell, who scored 23 points in that span, 8 of them coming in the last minute and a half to bring the Wolverines from behind. It was a classic example of a basketball player finding one spot on the floor so much to his liking that he just couldn't miss. Well, the Michigan coach, Dave Stack, didn't have to try to get his boys up for this one. Russell threw in the winning shot at the buzzer to give Michigan an 87-85 victory over Wichita in the battle for national leadership, and you can bet that's going to be a nip-and-tuck battle the rest of the year. Speaking about battles, closer home, Lakeland's at Plant tonight, Robinson at Hillsboro, Chamberlain at Jefferson, King at Brandon, at Mary Help of Christian's Gym, Dunedin at St. Petersburg, Seminole at Northeast, and Dixie Hollins takes on Largo in what promises to be a great night of high school basketball. Tampa will be at Asheville against a tough Biltmore 5. And incidentally, we just heard today that George Sherry, the team manager, suffered an accident last night and has some stitches. Some 43 were taken, and we're certainly sorry to hear about that. But right now, we're going to have a word from Standard Oil, and then Solly Saul will be back with some more interesting sports news for you.
The proud traditions of the Old South are reflected in Standard's tradition of service. From 1886 to today, meeting the needs of the modern motorist with new improvements in products and new standards of excellence in service. Whatever kind of car you drive, whatever the weather or road condition, you'll drive with confidence when you depend on Standard's Old South tradition of providing the best in products and service. Standard Oil, where we take better care of your car.
You know, for many years, the Teachers Seniors PGA Championship was at Dunedin at PGA course. Now, of course, it has moved to the East Coast. And tonight I've asked Bob Peters to come all the way over from Fort Lauderdale Country Club, the club manager. He is with Ellery Lathrop here, his half-brother, and Ellery and Bob together, we're going to talk about the teachers. Tell me about this year's teachers coming up, Bob.
Well, first of all, Sal, I want to thank you very much for having me on your program, and it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
We were contacted by teachers here a couple of months ago if we would be interested in having the tournament, and we assured them that we would. And this year, why, it will be one of the most successful tournaments that they have ever had. I had been with them at Port St. Lucie 2 years ago, and I also have followed them through Dunedin. In the last 12 years, I probably have watched the operation for 10 of the tournament for the 12 years. And I want to say now, Sal, that I want to welcome every senior professional here in the West Coast to come over and play in this tournament.
What's the dates?
The date, we start February the 25th through the 28th, the 72-hole championship tournament.
How about prizes?
Prizes, last year there was $30,000 award in prizes. And it's up this year to $35,000 at the present time, and I'm sure by the time we reach the date, the first day of the tournament, it'll go to $40,000, Sal. We're real happy about this. We're real pleased about it.
Well, Bob, let's talk to Ellery a minute. You know, Ellery is recognized as Ted Peters Smokehouse half owner. And Ellery, I know that you belong to the St. Petersburg Antelope Club. You went to Wyoming this year on the hunt. Are you going to have your big charity dinner this year?
That'll be held in February, Sal, February 25th. And we've got 17 antelope and deer waiting in the freezer now, and there's buffalo, and we'll also have elk. Last year, we donated $1,400 to the Boys Club and the Boys Ranch. This year, we hope that it'll run a lot better.
I know it will, Ellery. Thank you very much. And Bob, thanks so much for coming over from Fort Lauderdale Country Club, where the Teachers National Championship Seniors will be held. Right now, it's time for Sword Blades, and I'll be back with a special tribute to some very good friends that you all know.
The Wilkinson Sword Blade, stainless steel, made in England. The Wilkinson Sword Blade is made like no other blade in the world. Rare Swedish steel, heat tempered at 1976 degrees. The Wilkinson Sword Blade, polished 16 times, inspected 22 times, stropped in costly Swiss oxide, until the shaving edge is the finest in the world. And it stays sharp, shave after shave. Wilkinson Sword Blades. And Wilkinson Sword makes fine gifts for gardeners.
What can I give him for Christmas?
A Wilkinson sword pruner.
A garden tool?
A Wilkinson sword pruner.
Those fabulous pruning shears he loved.
Wilkinson sword pruning shears.
Wilkinson sword pruning shears.
the finest gift for anyone who gardens. Wilkinson Sword, masters of the cutting edge since 1772.
A little early on Pulse News, you heard about the 10 millionth barrel at Anheuser-Busch today. And, of course, I had to make a talk down at the Rotary Club in Sarasota Bay, and I couldn't be there. But some civic leaders, and they had a fine luncheon. And I just want to tip my hat to them because they sent me a bottle from the 10 millionth barrel. It was brewed at 10:34 this morning. Gorgeous Busch Gardens. It's done so much for Florida, I think. And I just want to say thanks very much, fellas. I wish I could have been there. The owners of the St. Louis Cardinal, world champions, Anheuser-Busch. And incidentally, some of our outstanding people, as I said, were there, including, you'll see here, Paul Von Goddard and Louis Swed. Paul is the manager, and Louis is the top local distributor, and there are some of our civic leaders. And that was at Busch Gardens today. Tonight, in wrestling at the Armory, the feature attraction is a Texas death match between the Tyler brothers, Bob Orton, and Hiro Matsuda. And don't forget, Peroxide Pearl is expected to run tonight and do it well at Tampa Greyhound Track. Fishing conditions tomorrow look pretty good for trout, low tide in the morning, and wind's pretty bad, so watch it and take it easy and boat safely. This is Salty saying so long, and Paul's back tonight on Late Pulse as Pulse continues.
Pulse Sports was presented tonight in part by your Standard Oil dealers, where you get Standard Oil's fall certified car check with guaranteed radiator protection.
The Federal Space Agency at Cape Kennedy delayed the launch of a Radiation Explorer at least one day until Saturday. This will be the last satellite launch of this year. The 101-pound radiation detection spacecraft had been set for launch at 3:50 a.m. Friday. The troubles were with an igniter for the third stage of its Delta launch rocket caused a delay. Space Agency spokesman said the shot will be reset for Saturday if a new igniter arrives at the Cape in time. In just a moment, a late look at the weather with Roy Leap.
One day, young Dennis Garcia of Fort Myers had some chores to do. His sister Linda was helping.
Hey, Linda, the fire's going out. I know. This'll fix it.
Suddenly, Dennis's ordinary day exploded. The gas can became a blistering, blackening flamethrower. Dennis had weeks, 61 long days and nights of slow healing in the hospital. And his legs needed extensive skin grafting operations. But thankfully, Dennis is all better now. Right, Mr. Garcia?
Oh, sure. He's like new now. And thanks to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So am I.
You told me earlier that at the rate you pay in, it would have taken you over 30 years to pay Dennis's bills.
Yes, that's right.
To save your family from today's mounting medical bills, remember the Garcias and the realistic protection of today's Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Still the best beer news. Premium Original Pabst Blue Ribbon costs no more than your regular beer. Get Pabst at popular prices.
A quick glance at our map tonight shows very quickly that most of the nation's worst weather has been confined to the northern tier of states. An area of snow showers, some of locally heavy, are still in progress along through most of the eastern Great Lakes. They'll be fading out of the picture tomorrow, however. A belt of cloudiness runs from the Great Lakes on westward to the Pacific Ocean. But the main weather maker tonight is a new blizzard which is starting to develop over the northern Rockies and is now moving through the northern plains. Cold wave warnings along with blizzard warnings are out for both of the Dakotas and portions of Minnesota, and temperatures will drop very cold there in the next 24 hours. They were quite cold there this morning. International Falls was down to 27 below, but Fairbanks again had the coldest that we know of, at least 53 degrees below zero. Down our way, there's still a bit of cloudiness and a few light sprinkles of rain along through the lower southeast coast and through the Keys. That cloudiness will start to thin out tomorrow. Elsewhere, however, generally fair weather prevails through the southeast, and although it will be another very cold night again along through portions of the southeast, frost should be mainly restricted to the extreme northern portions of our state, and little or no frost is expected in central Florida. Tomorrow, a warming trend should start by afternoon. Strong southwesterly winds are causing a definite warming trend to take shape out over the central and southern plains, and an area of California today had persistent haze and smoke, reducing visibility considerably throughout much of the west coast area. Tampa, our radar now shows snow showers anywhere within its maximum range of 215 miles. Current Tampa temperatures 52 degrees, St. Petersburg Clearwater Airport 55, humidity 62%. The barometer at our studios is 30 and 21/100 inches and is rising. Channel 13's wind measuring system shows mostly north-northeasterly winds at about 6 miles an hour. And our forecast calls for continued fair, rather cold tomorrow morning, 42, high tomorrow 71, low the following morning 50. That's the latest on the weather picture. More weather tonight on Pulse at 11.
That's our local Pulse right up to the moment. Next on the CBS Evening News, you'll see film reports on the opening of those NATO meetings in Paris, the opening of steel negotiations in Pittsburgh. A new Canadian flag is displayed in Toronto, and there's a shortage of Santa Claus.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Marvin Kalb in Washington, Roger Mudd in Washington, Stanley Levy in Pittsburgh, Eric Severide in Washington, Charles Von Fremd in Washington, and Robert Trout in New York.
Good evening. The United States underlined the rapidly deteriorating situation in Vietnam today with an urgent appeal to our NATO